Hello everyone, Cassie here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today is a special day. It is Bubble Tea Day. How cool is that? And so Trinity Stamps has teamed up with the coffee loving card makers, and we have a hop for you. So let's talk about our products. I have this summertime sips die. It's awesome. It's nice and big. You could make a card just out of these dies alone, but we're going to make a shaker. I also have the sentiment for almost everything, and then the Frappy camper. I'm going to bring that in later, but I went ahead and cut out all my pieces just to save a little bit of time. I cut these out of watercolor paper because I want to use some distress oxides on them. And this one was cut right out of the whole front of an A2 size card. That is going to be the opening for my shaker. So let's set things off to the side and we'll start pulling out our colors. For the coffee itself, I'm going to be using some antique linen, and I'm also going to be using some vintage photo and ground espresso. The antique linen is our sprays, and the other two are our distress oxide inks. I've spritzed those onto a mat. And then I'm just going to dab this right into those colors. It's very intense, but distress oxides dry back just a little bit. And I love the look this gives. It almost, I mean, if you've watched anybody pour tea on top of creamer into tea, you get this really cool look. It sort of marbles, and that's what I was going for. So now, after that's been dried, I'm going to dip this back in because I really like layering those things up. Distress oxides just layer on top of each other so nicely that I really wanted that look. I'll clean up my mess, and then I'm going to set the little coffee piece off to the side to dry, and we're going to start working on our background. I'm pulling in some chipped sapphire and seedless preserves. I'm shaking these like a bell. You don't want to shake them up and down. It can clog. So I'm just shaking these like a bell, and then I'm going to spritz those onto my mat. Sometimes I have a little bit of issue with them. After I'm done spraying, I always wipe off the nozzle. That will just cut down on them clogging as well. So I wipe those off. Now I'm taking this piece and I'm just gonna smush once again. And it is very intense. As I was doing this, at first I sort of wasn't real excited about it. I thought it was too dark. Had to remind myself that these are distress oxides, so they will dry back just a little bit, kind of give you a chalky look. But I was also thinking as I was doing this, how cool of a background would this be for like a night sky, a galaxy. Maybe add a little bit darker color in there, but I love those two together. This color combination is absolutely one of my favorites. And I chose these colors because sometimes the bubble tea, the little bubbles or whatever those are, I don't know exactly the terminology, but whatever those are that they put in there can be like a dark purple or a blue. It kind of reminds me of blueberries when I look at them. So that's sort of what I was going for with these colors. And so I'm drying that and then just pouncing it back in there, trying to cover up some of that white. I'm not super concerned about the white around the cutout. That's going to get covered. But I'm so happy already. I'm going to bring in my Trinity Gold palette, the sparkle and gold, spritz a little water in there, and then I'm going to splatter this all over that background as well. Just gives a little bit of shimmer, super fun. If you've watched me at all, I love this little palette. It is fantastic. And as far as I know, it is back in stock. So if you've been eyeing it, go grab it. All right, so that's what that looks like. And now we'll get ready for our base. So our card base was cut down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4, and I used my ergonomic bone folder by Trinity to fold that up. And now I'm going to just place this on top of the front of the card base, and then I'll glue down my coffee. This part needs to be done first. So I'll glue down my coffee. That way I don't have to try and guess later. Then I can set that off to the side while the glue dries. And now we're going to start assembling the shaker. I've got a piece of acetate. It's cloudy right now because that's just the tissue paper that comes with it. And so I've cut that down to be a little bit smaller, or a little bit bigger than that opening, smaller than my actual card panel. Glued that down, and now I'm going to use some foam tape on the back of that. This is a foam tape that is thick for shakers. So you wouldn't have to double this up, but if you're using like the regular Scotch, you would probably have to double that up. I'll peel off all the release paper. That's super important because you want to do that before you put any of your shaker elements in there. And I'm using some Royal Velvet and Twilight Sky Confetti Mix by Trinity. I put those in there, and then I'm going to grab a couple little pieces that I have in my stash that almost look like ice cubes. Those were just in my stash. I'll grab another piece of acetate and put that on the back. That's my little, not like a secret, because this is out there, but yeah, that's what I like to do. That way it makes it a little easier to try to adhere this down to the front of my card base. Just absolutely love doing that. I know it uses up extra acetate, but I get the cheaper stuff that is more of a transparency film, and I'll have that linked down below. Grabbing the cutout piece that I have, and I'm going to attach that right over the top. So now it's starting to look like a little cup. How cute is that? And then for our foam, I wanted that to stand out a little differently, so I'm just going to go ahead and spray that antique linen right on top. I'll pounce it down into the color that's left over on my glass mat. I'll dry that, and then I'll glue that to the top. That makes it kind of look like maybe there's some cinnamon or something that was sprinkled on top, or it's like a vanilla foam. I grabbed out a couple of sentiments. One of those was from a sentiment for almost everything, and the other one was from the Frappy Camper PERKing spot. It's so cute. And then I'm going to ink those up with some juicy embossing ink, stamp that down on some black cardstock, cover that with some white embossing powder, and then I'll heat set that till that is smooth and melted. I did use a magic powder bag ahead of time. That's the residue that you see on there. That will just keep any white powder from sticking to places that I don't want it to stick to. And then we're going to trim these sentiments down using our guillotine trimmer. Just an easier way for me to get straight lines. And then I did cut a little slant on that right hand side. I'll stick these down directly onto that using that same liquid glue. And then I decide I want to pull in some of those shaker elements and stick those on the outside. So I have that same Royal Velvet and Twilight Sky confetti mix. And we are going to just, randomly put those all over using our crystal katana and our liquid glue. Now, as I said, this is a part of a blog hop, so I'm going to have everything linked down below in my description box. You're going to want to head down there, head to my blog. It'll give you all the information that you need. And yeah, you can hop along and check out everybody's projects. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.